Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. I'm so excited about our guest, me from beloved Asheville. Let's see. Just give me 1 second. Hi. Hey, everyone. Good morning. It's morning, but we are good to go now. And I'm just going to get our wonderful guest on in just a second. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. Just invited Amy to join our conversation today. I'm so excited about our conversation.
Good
Awesome.
morning.
Oh, good morning. How are you? So that wasn't too bad, was it?
That was easy. All right.
Awesome. How are you today?
Doing very well. So awesome to see you here in the room on Instagram.
Oh, I know. I am so excited about everything that you guys do, and I'm so excited that we have an opportunity to help you out. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Can you tell our community who you are, a little bit about yourself, and how you got started with all of this?
Sure. Well, I have to say that the feeling is mutual.
Oh,
Um, and so I love that. We always say we're looking in the mirror. So
yeah,
we love people that are about making the world better and more beautiful. And here you are being about it, which is awesome.
yeah,
So grateful to be here. So I'm Amy Cantrell. I'm one of the co-directors at Beloved Asheville. And it's certainly a work of the heart.
yeah,
One of the things that we recognized when we started back in 2009, of course, times were really hard then. If anybody was around back in 2008, that was just a huge economic struggle.
yeah,
And so here we are back again, and a very difficult and painful time for so many.
yeah,
And so it sort of takes me back to those early days of Beloved. And really the goal was, what we saw really missing, particularly in the nonprofit arena, was nobody was really focusing on community.
right,
And we believe community really are those critical connections that we all need in our lives to be well, to be joyful and happy. We always say, most of us in a crisis navigate that crisis via community, the
yeah,
people that are in our lives.
yeah,
We also experience our greatest joys in community.
mhm,
And so we really wanted to focus on how do we create this, deepen the fabric of community and reknit people and neighborhoods back together.
mhm,
So that has been a profound part of our work. It's interesting that North Carolina State University did a study right before COVID in 2019, and they asked North Carolinians, what is your number one struggle?
mm,
And, and interestingly enough, North Carolinians by a long shot said disconnection.
yes,
That we feel disconnected from one another, from our
yeah,
neighbors, from the institutions that were created to really serve us in our communities. And so we think that we're on to something really profound
yeah,
when we talk about wanting to create those connections.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even more so now, right? Because of the pandemic that we're currently in,
Mm.
people are finding it even harder to connect and to find their community.
I think the pandemic has pointed it up, excuse me, even more,
Yeah,
the need for these critical connections and community. And I've talked to a lot of people that say they just really long to be with each other again.
yeah,
And that's really what we're about at our heart.
yeah,
How are we really working on that fabric of community so we lift everybody up together? When we say we lift from the bottom, everybody rises. So
yeah,
that's the goal,
yeah,
is that we connect on the ground and we join hands and we lift together so that everybody rises, everybody thrives in our communities. And so that's what we're really about, is this community, heart-grown solutions to some of our toughest struggles, like systemic racism, housing insecurity,
yeah,
homelessness, poverty, the things that really, food insecurity, all of the things that we understand to be some of our biggest struggles.
hmm,
We want to step in and begin to work with people experiencing those struggles to create really powerful, innovative solutions. And so that's really what we've become over these years. We're going into our 14th year now.
That's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and your history and kind of what drew you to, just, being a part of this and creating this?
Sure, absolutely. I had a very profound moment, and I feel like most of our life paths come out of some kind of profound moment that we have,
Hmm.
where we may be on a journey, and then something happens and it really sets our course for
Yeah.
the rest of our lives. And so I'll tell you my experience. I was a young person. I was in college, and I went with a group to New York City, and the goal was to really connect with people out on the streets, and particularly people that were different from us, and particularly people who were struggling.
Hmm.
And so the very first night that I was there, I met a gentleman. He was sitting on the steps of a locked church, big red doors behind him. I'll never forget that. And we were just equal and opposites in every way. His skin was dark like espresso. He was an elder. I was a youth, had come from a predominantly white community and upbringing. And so we just talked to each other. We connected, and he was a poet, so he was speaking in verse, and which was really profound for me. And so much of my life just came into to stark focus in that moment, and I realized that we needed each other. His name was Catman. That was his street name. So I'll never forget. I was like, we need each other in this world. And there's so many things working to pull us apart and divide us and keep us segregated from one another. And so that's what Catman taught me. I went home just profoundly changed. I started hanging out in the soup kitchen
Yeah.
in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is where I'm from. I started in the kitchen serving meals, and then at the end, I would go out and was sitting down with people, and I started getting signals from the kitchen like, this, cut it off, come back in here, very worried. And I just pretended like I didn't see them. And then at the end of the day, they said, you can't do that. That's not safe, was
Oh,
what I was told. It's against policy. And so I, talked to all the people that were involved, all the organizers, and eventually I decided the meal was free. And so I invited a bunch of my friends to come, and we would stand in line and go get lunch. And then we started just hanging out with people.
that's
Because I'm like, if we're not volunteering there, they can't tell us, we can't talk to people.
I love
So
that.
that's what we did. And I got to know all these people in my hometown that I had never met. Um, Became really good friends with a lot of them. There was a guy named James Brown. And so I would, every time I saw him on the street, I'd be like, "Ow, James Brown, how you doing?" And I just started to get
Oh,
to know people as friends. And it changed my life in profound ways. And that place went from a place where everybody ducked their heads and were just shoveling food in, and you could hear a pin drop, to a place where people laughed and talked and were connected.
I love that.
And so I realized the power of that. And so that really, those sort of two things really marked me early on. And so, I said, I really want to do this work. And
Mm,
in the beginning, nobody was doing that. Everybody would scratch their heads, and be like, what do what is BLOF? Where you're building community? What is that?
yeah.
And now I think people begin to understand how powerful that is, how transformative it is. And
Mhm.
I'm doing, the work of my life. I just, I feel like I'm on the front row of something amazing that's happening, and I'm just sort of inside it. And seeing what people have done in a circle,
Yeah.
seeing people who are housing insecure,
Yeah.
sitting in a circle in the wake of, we lost a friend who froze to death on the streets of Asheville. And it was heartbreaking. The police came and knocked on our door at Beloved and asked us to identify a body for them. And it was one of the most painful days of my life. And we knew her as our friend Janet Jones, who loved to take care of the turtles on the river. That was what everybody told the stories of, Janet taking care of the turtles.
Hmm.
We held a funeral for her,
Hmm.
but we had a circle of people living through the housing crisis that would meet every week And we just took her death into the heart of that circle. And through that, people that were housing insecure created this dream project that's this beautiful board behind me, which is our village of deeply affordable micro homes with
Oh,
equity,
that's amazing.
which is amazing. Just to hear people that are living through these things, really getting creative and saying, if somebody in that room said, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
what's the government going to do, not what's some agency, but what are we in this room going to do? That group also led us to create the first formerly homeless street medic team in the nation,
Mm-hmm.
who train with EMTs and nurses and go out and medic literally on the streets,
Wow.
connecting with people and offering care.
Right.
Um, we realized, there was all these healthcare institutions, and from their front door out, there was just all this pain and hurt and people struggling with illness, and they weren't connecting into those institutions. And so being able to go out to them in community,
Yeah. Yeah.
which really led the way in how we responded to the COVID-19
Okay.
crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We were paying attention to things of a medical nature, a healthcare nature, and so we started seeing what was happening in Wuhan. And those of us on our core team here began to look at each other and say, "That's coming here."
Yep. Yeah.
And so we started doing actually COVID prevention in January of 2020. We're one of the first groups called in by Buncombe County Emergency Management to respond to the pandemic. And one of the profound things that we did was we said, people can't come to us. We have to go to them.
Yeah.
And that, our street medic team was a real good example of how that could work. And so we began going out, particularly to impacted communities. We had connected to a large group of neighbors during the ICE raids that had happened about 3 years prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we began, mobilizing in Latinx neighborhoods, mobilizing African American neighborhoods. We've done racial equity work for a long time. So we had people that we knew on the ground, and we knew that these are the communities most at risk.
Yep.
Of people on the streets. And so we started going out, meeting people, connecting to essential workers, training tienda owners about how to be sort of public health educators, and teaching everybody that came in their shops what was going on and how they could protect themselves and their families.
Right.
Making sure that they had masks to give away.
Yeah.
Creating culturally relevant COVID information.
Mm.
So you can imagine a lot of people, they look at sort of CDC posters and they don't even pay attention because they think, well, that's not really for me.
Right.
Or it's in medical ease and people don't really get it. And so we created a whole series of posters. We had a Black Panther series of COVID posters. We had soul dancers and the Virgin of Guadalupe washing her hands, and so that people, when they saw those, thought, oh, that's about me.
Oh.
Right. And they would read, and then we would sort of translate this medical ease into everyday people speak. Right. So that people would understand, terms like social distancing, which we had never heard before. Hard to believe we'd never heard that term now. I know. So really being on the ground. And so we began to deliver, 50,000 pounds of food every week, directly into neighborhoods, being led by community leaders in those neighborhoods. And also doing a lot of advocacy work. So we were, on the ground early on, calling for, eviction protections, asking the jail to release nonviolent offenders if they were pretrial, so that they would have, more ability to care for themselves and protect themselves, asking for expanded shelter for domestic violence victims and people on the street. Calling for public bathrooms. Imagine you're hearing, wash your hands, wash your hands. That's what we heard in the early days. And so we were able to get hand washing stations and public restrooms. And then we deployed street pantries. So we now have 14 street pantries.
That's amazing.
Across Buncombe County, so that people could access things that they needed to survive. Food, camping equipment, warming supplies in the winter. 24/7, you can just go up to a street pantry and get things, no questions asked.
It's
Because so many agencies were closed. We were like, how are people going to get resources? So we were really creatively moving toward the community and with the community.
somebody, Alex Nolan, 54, just that I respect the work Beloved does so much. A recent tweet from the city starting low barrier to entry shelters have been found to be helpful. Had me so mad. So many people are being forced out of shelters because of curfews and trying to work. So I love the work that you guys do with the pantries. It's such a lifesaver for the usual people I see near work. So
Oh, thank you so much. That's so beautiful. I have to tell the story about that. One of the things that we saw was we had gone out, so we had some amazing women that had made traditional foods. And so one of them, Marta, said, I want to make pupusas for you all to take to people on the streets.
mm-hmm.
Pupusas, a very traditional El Salvadoran dish. And so we headed to the streets with these hot pupusas, and we got down to the Lexington Avenue Bridge. And Pancho, who's my colleague, one of the co-directors here, opened our truck. And one of our friends, Jose, was like, he starts sniffing. He said, I smell masa. I smell masa. What do you have? And we said, we have pupusas for you. And he was so excited to have, comfort food that really resonated with his soul. Um, the food and language and music of our cultures really, are so important, and so much of the work that we do around cultural equity and racial equity connect to culture
Yeah.
and the things that really resonate with our spirits in different cultures. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was really so special to him. So we started talking to him, and one of the things that he told us was that his feet were really hurting because he was wearing a size 10 shoe, even though he's a size 12.
Mm.
And this happens a lot, particularly. You often might see people walking on the backs of their shoes because their shoes are too small. And he said, if I had a job, I think I could be off these streets in a month. And so we came back the next day. We had a size 12 pair of boots for him and
Oh,
a job opportunity. And we get to the bridge and they're gone. All of our friends are gone. And this is the coldest day of the year, 24 degrees. Basically, the wind was blowing about 40 miles an hour. Very deadly kind of weather.
yeah.
We're scrambling, trying to find out what happened. We found out that DOT had gone down and cleared the camp that was under the bridge in that kind of weather.
Oh,
So our team was out searching for those people. We
mm-hmm.
were very, very afraid for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the phone with the state senator, and we were calling DOT.
Yeah.
And so we launched a campaign asking DOT to follow CDC guidance, which is if folks are on the streets, that you leave them in place so they could shelter in place where they are. And so many of you responded across our community and called the Secretary of Transportation. And about a month later, he released a memo asking all the departments in the whole state to follow CDC guidance. So our friends returned to the Lexington Avenue Bridge and were there for many months. We launched Camp Clean there, which was providing our trash and recycling systems. And the folks that were camping there actually created sort of a chore chart. So they each took a day and they were cleaning. We had so many compliments from people that walked by that run businesses and live nearby about how clean it was and how excited they were to see people involved in that way. Not too long after that, the city of Asheville said basically they gave folks in parks 7 days notice to evict. And we began then advocating vigorously with the city to not evict our friends, to let them shelter in place.
Right.
And really, we kept hearing no, it's going for. We called on the city to offer a housing alternative like a hotel,
Mm-hmm.
if they were insisting on evicting. So at the last hour, it was the sixth day and late at night, we got a call from the city that they were going to move people to hotels, and would we come down and help? So we got to wake our friends up at on Lexington and invite them to go to the hotel, and we helped move everybody over. So that's the Ramada Inn. So of course, then we immediately said the city should buy this hotel and turn it into a low barrier shelter. It's one
Mm-hmm.
of the largest gaps in our community. So people may or may not know that we don't have shelter for the hundreds of people that are on the street. So our street medics every night are seeing people out. And this is not people that don't want to go into shelter. It's the fact that we don't have enough shelter and the right kind of shelter often. So we do have people like this comment. We do have people that are married or have pets, or many people work. And of course, second and third shift jobs are easier to get. And so we don't have shelter for those folks that work at night and need to sleep during the day. So many different sort of needs, and that's what I think low barrier shelter is really powerful.
Yeah.
It really fits the different needs. We don't have any shelter for single dads.
Yeah.
If you're a single mom and have a 12-year-old boy, he will have to go in with the men or go to the teen shelter, which is only 21 days stay. So you can see there's just a lot of people that sort of fall through the cracks. And so we are very hopeful that the city is going to buy this hotel, but we often say from community, from a pupusa, from a woman that said, I'm in connection with somebody that is out living under this bridge, and I'm going to make food. I'm going to make warm food for them. Mm-hmm. How beautiful. And so this is one of the things that I love about Be Loved is that, we say this is not one group of people serving another group. It's not charity. It's about us all coming together. It's people from all different walks of life serving one another, standing with one another. We had homeless people helping us during the ice raids.
Yeah.
Supporting Latinx people. We had, our Latinx community really be roused by what happened with George Floyd, and are standing up in that way. And so lots of different types of people really connecting, because that's one of the messages that we get is that we're all different. And it's this community versus that community. And what we know is that we're one community and we need each other.
Yep. I love that. Alex Nolan is asking, was the Walmart camp one of the other groups that got moved?
Yes. There were the Walmart camp. There's multiple people in parks. And so, I'm always, the camp on Bleachery Road, I always think about, we did vaccinations at campsite. And that was the first camp where we took vaccinations to people. And so many people in the medical community were like, oh, people on the street are going to be hesitant. And we started we hosted an event at Pritchard Park where we said, hey, the vaccines are coming. And we just want you to know about it. And here's some information about these vaccinations. And we want you to think about stepping up and being a community hero. And so about a month later, we actually were able to take vaccines out to campsites, to restaurants. We went to restaurants where essential workers were. And Biscuit Head in South Asheville allowed us, when they closed, to host a vaccination event there for essential workers. So think about, nobody likes getting shots. That's not the most fun thing, but being able to do it in a place where you're already comfortable and connected. We held 2 big events at the bus station, at the art station this summer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, these are, we go into these places. And so we've spent lots of time in neighborhoods, at the bus station, out in camps. And what you see is just such a beautiful array of humanity. It's one of the things I'll always remember about the pandemic is just seeing such amazing people working together. Mm-hmm. Every week going into neighborhoods and taking food and seeing those community leaders who live in those neighborhoods setting up and working with us. We had lots of youth and kids who were on virtual school.
Yeah.
They got a whole different school in the pandemic because a lot of them started coming out and working with us. Often their parents were some of our neighborhood community leaders. And so they joined in. It was so cool to see, 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
We had a 9-year-old that said she had gotten a little cart at a yard sale one of those little push carts like you carry groceries in, the smallest one you can imagine. And she started taking boxes to neighbors' houses, that either they were essential workers or it was elders.
Uh-huh.
And her cart broke. And we got wind that her cart broke. So we were able to get her a new cart, a big cart that she could do this work
Nice.
with us. And, that was one of the really touching moments for me of the pandemic, was seeing this 9-year-old girl so committed to her neighbors, to loving her neighbors and making sure they had what they needed, and seeing that she could be a part of the solution.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of that, if there are you that are interested in volunteering now, how do they get involved? Young people who, for me, growing up, I was given the opportunity. My parents were very much into serving the community, and so I had a lot of opportunity to do that. I grew up in New York. We would be part of the food pantry in New York City, and I was able to. It had a really profound effect on my life. I even went to other countries that did service work, and so I really feel deeply that it's a wonderful thing for parents and families to get children involved with. So how can that happen? How because it can really change the trajectory of your life path.
Absolutely.
Opportunity.
Absolutely. And we love that. We say, so many people hear kids and youth of the future, and we say they are, but they're also the now.
Yeah.
We want to involve them right now,
Yeah.
in really solution focused work. And so, like I said, we've had tons of kids and youth that live in neighborhoods, that we have been going in and delivering food and supplies and diapers. They're there every time we roll the door up in our truck, which the community's named Esperanza, which means hope. You'll hear the kids shout Esperanza, and then they'll come up, and as soon as the door opens, they're on the truck helping to unload, getting involved that way. We've had kids and youth. We have a whole kids and youth part of our Be Love Village project,
Yes.
where we're building deeply affordable micro homes. So we really just connect with the kids. A lot of times we're working with groups of kids, whether it's school kids or youth, and we tell them more about the housing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them, before the pandemic, we went out to schools and we would have them be painting pictures of what home means to them.
Mm-hmm.
As we were talking. And so we have these beautiful collages of all their artwork that are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ask them to be a part of the solution and to think of a way that they can raise funds to help build a house in the village.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them have done that. So we, Kids and Youth Build started with a kid named Milo that heard us speak. His mom works at Warren Wilson. And I always describe this. I have young children, so this was the proverbial, your parents drag you to this event because they have to be there, and you're the kid in the room, and it's not really built for you, and you kind of check out. But Milo didn't check out. He checked in, and on the way home, he said, I want to do something to help the Be Love Village. I want to help people who need homes. And so his birthday was coming up, and so he made his birthday party for the Be Love Village, and raised almost $900. And so that's how Kids and Youth Build started. And then there was another kid. We were talking about this project. Then we had our Kids Justice League. So the kids were doing these tiny paintings, and one of the kids started just burst into tears. And I said to his mom, I said, "Is he okay?" And she said he thought he was going to be building the houses today. And I'm like, oh, we can build the houses. And so that combination of those two kids got Kids and Youth Build going. So we've had, really hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of youth who have volunteered with the village. They've now raised over $12 to support one of the homes in the Be Love Village project, through lemonade stands and birthday parties and school fundraisers. So that has been really amazing. We had the first graders at Glen Arden adopt a pantry. We placed a pantry near their school, out on Airport Road.
Love that.
We spent a lot of time in their classrooms via Zoom. talking about the struggles in our community and how they can help. And it was that perfect moment in the pandemic because the last week of school, people were cleared to come and meet with the kids outside. So I got to surprise visit them. And then we had our truck, Poncho and Adrian, two of my colleagues, we had the truck hidden and we pulled the truck up, Esperanza, and the kids were shouting, and we had a pantry right there that they got to fill, and that pantry went out to Airport Road just down from the school. But we think it's so important for kids to see that they can make a profound impact, that they have the power to change things.
Absolutely.
That things, the way they are not the way they have to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So teaching kids that they are part of the solution, that they can make a powerful contribution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think often kids are shunted into these little Band-Aid projects, and we believe that kids need to profoundly see that they can be big problem solvers in this world and do very transformative work as children and youth. And we hope that they grow up seeing the power that everybody deserves a home, that kids and youth have the power to change things, that systemic racism does not have to be. We had an amazing art show with Evergreen where we had them make posters about systemic racism and how we create equity and healing. And their work was amazing. And then we interviewed them about, what they had learned about themselves, about working together as classmates through the project, and what they wanted to do, what kind of world did they want to see,
right?
How they wanted to change the way things are in terms of systemic racism. And I'm telling you, these kids just blew us away with their wisdom. And, those are the kind of experiences that we know will change not only that child's life, but, the path that they're on and how they will affect the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jocelyn just wrote in and said so many creative solutions. Yeah, you've mentioned in this conversation, and I'm sure there are many more out there.
We love being creative. We have a couple of new things. We started last year our winter survival kit.
Yeah.
Where we were sourcing emergency sleeping bags and these really cool insulated tents that help turn body heat back to a person, and then of course warming supplies like hot hands.
Yeah.
But this year we've also added to that what we call Keep Asheville Warm umbrella. So one of the things that we heard from a lot of our community leaders out in communities where people are really struggling on low incomes was, that people were shivering in the cold last winter and layering up with blankets. Some people wrapped their houses in thin plastic or their mobile homes.
Wow.
And what was the issue was their HVAC was broken. So there are programs that help with heating costs, but nobody helps with HVAC repair. And that kind of got kicked off. There was an AB Tech student that is in the HVAC program, and he was like, hey, I want to help volunteer at Be Loved, and I'm trying to figure out what I could do. And, lo and behold, here we are, just realizing that so many of our people were in homes that weren't heated last year. And this is why it's so important to sit with people, right? Because it was in people telling stories that we realized, oh, we need to do something about this.
Yes.
One home, literally, it was a $40 part. Because now and we need lots more people that have HVAC experience to come in and volunteer. But the student gave their time, and so we were able to buy the part, and it was literally a $40 part. But that service call would have been far out of reach for a family that was living, paycheck to paycheck.
Sure.
Another family, the parts were, $200 and $300. So it can vastly differ. And the other thing that we're starting, which I really love, are school bus packs. Nice. So one of the things that we've been seeing in our neighborhoods is so many of the kids are out at 6 a.m, right, waiting on the school bus.
Right.
So making sure that they have warming supplies. So kids' hats and gloves and hot hands. And so we're putting together these school bus packs.
That's amazing.
It's really cool.
So, what's the best way? You have a lot of projects going on right now. Which projects do you feel you need the most support with right now? And what's the best way for our, followers to get involved and to help?
Awesome. Well, all the projects are important and exciting. And I always say, what are you passionate about? What resonates with your spirit?
Yeah.
'Cause that's the really powerful intersection, right?
Yeah.
Is where the community need and your passion sort of cross. That intersection is really pivotal. And so I say, if the Beulah Village calls to your soul, if you're about affordable housing and you want to, see affordable housing that has deep affordability, as we say,
Yeah.
for people at the lowest incomes and has equity to help lift people out of poverty, like maybe that project's for you. Maybe you like to inspire kids and work with kids. We have lots of ways for folks to get involved with that. Our food security. Maybe you want to do, racial healing work, and our cultural equity work. You really like seeing people connect around their cultures,
Yeah.
and you see all the systemic racism that is unfortunately alive and well still in our world, and you want to be a part of changing that. That's where you plug in. So there's lots of ways to get involved, and we would love for folks to reach out to us, including this 5K that's coming up that we're so excited about, and what we're doing there.
Yeah, yeah, we're excited about it too. And in case you all don't know, we are doing a 5K called Be the Love, Stride for Change. It'll be starting at Carrier Park on November 27th. And it is a fundraising event. And we would love for you to participate in any way that you can. If you could be there physically to walk or run the 5K, that would be amazing. But we're also going to be collecting holiday gifts for BIPOC kids and youth on the race day. And we're going to be having, at the end of race day, we're going to be having a special yoga class if the weather permits, and also a Beyond the Bar John experience for everyone. So we'll have some product there, and we'll be collecting, items. And so there's lots of ways to get involved, and all you have to do is check out our Instagram and get more information that way. And you can participate as much as you want to. We're accepting donations for Beloved. I don't know if you all want to talk a little bit about what your part is going to be in the
Yeah, we're so excited about being there, and this is a fun way to take care of your health and the health of the community all at one time,
Yeah.
which is really awesome. Is
Yeah.
participating in this 5K, and coming out and being in community. We love this. We've had to get really creative about how we're in community right now with COVID-19, and so this is a wonderful way. It's an outdoor event. Again, you're getting to run and walk with your neighbors.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we find is so many people really want to be a part of the change. People don't want to sit at home. They want to be active
Yeah.
and get engaged. So this is a great way to get engaged, learn more about Be Love, participate with your neighbors, come out and then, get inspired by this local business who's doing so much really, such wonderful stuff, I think, in the community and world. And there's just, one of the things that we've heard is that people, they follow us to be inspired, because we need to feel that sense of being inspired and hopeful, and that we can do things together to transform what we see into something beautiful. So all that's in the mix that day.
Yes.
It's a great way to just come and feel inspired and connected. And then this toy drive, we're really excited about this toy drive. We've been doing this for the past few years. One of the things that we see is most of the kids that we know are African American, Latinx kids, and we want to make sure that they have gifts, particularly over the holiday season, that really resonate with who they are. So think action figures and baby dolls with brown skin, with black skin. Think books with culturally relevant themes and characters. Also, toys that really connect with STEM learning, science, technology, math. Those are really important. Things that help kids get active. So items that, sporting equipment, recreational equipment, things that they can get outside. Last year, the Razer Scooters were super duper popular. Those are fun because they're indoor outdoor. So
Yeah,
if you're a parent, I know for me that was like my saving grace of COVID. Was these things, even in the winter, we could ride around the living room on.
yeah,
So these are ways that we help kids really get exercise and find joy and just know that they are seen and loved in our community. And so I know you have a whole list that we put out
yeah,
on your Instagram that
yeah,
folks can check that out and see things.
yeah,
And good old fashioned games and other types of toys are always welcome.
yeah,
So we invite folks to drop those off there at Race Day. If you can stay and walk or run, we'd love you to. But you can also come and just say hello and see what's going on and drop off toys.
yes. And we're hoping for great weather because it will be such an amazing way for us to connect and just really, come out and support each other. We've already raised over $400, and you can actually donate directly. And we also have raised a ton of money for from our sponsors too. So we're excited about that. So people are already getting excited. We've already got registered for the run.
Yes.
And we would just love for you to come out and support this amazing opportunity. Jocelyn said, I love that you focus on building the cultural bridges. So important. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
So I did want to ask you, when you're driving around Asheville, there are often people who are in need, hanging out on the street, asking for either work or for food. What do you all recommend the best thing to do in those kinds of situations? Because I know that, it's uncomfortable for some people. Some people don't even want to look or wave or, say anything. I always, when my kids were young, we would always carry extra food with us in the car and hand it out the window. But I was curious if you could respond to that, and what do you think would be the best way for people to communicate with those that are in need, that are standing on the streets when we're at the traffic lights?
Right, that's right. Be human. I always say it always goes back to being human. When I go back to my days hanging out at the soup kitchen, one of the things I would start teaching my friends. Oftentimes we in a capitalist society have learned, how we navigate new moments with new people. We often do it through that lens. Like, what do you do for a living, right? Where do you live?
Yeah.
Did you watch this movie? Have you bought this new thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of people didn't know how to talk to other people because all of those topics didn't really apply.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I always say we're all from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you from? What brings you joy in life? What's your favorite color?
Mm-hmm.
So you start just engaging. And the easiest thing is to say, hello, my name is, what's your name?
Mm-hmm.
Great to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I will tell you more than anything is being remembered. I'm that obnoxious person that as I'm going through town, if I'm on foot or if I'm in my car, I'm honking at you and be like, hey, so and so. And I can't tell you how much that means because oftentimes people get hurled insults out the windows from hanging out with a lot of people on the streets. I've seen it happen thousands of times. When people are just at their lowest and people are hurling, demeaning insults at them. Same often in our neighborhoods, people hurling really mean things to people that have gotten up at 4 a.m. and work, long before the sun is up, who work back of house always, and so they're not seen, they're invisibilized, but are making this town really move, or the people that are the heartbeat. We have many essential workers that can't even drive here because they're not allowed to get driver's licenses, for example. We're working to change that at the state level. So there's lots of people that go unseen and feel invisibilized. And so that basic human need of all of ours to belong,
Yeah.
to be connected, to be seen. So I just always invite people to have a conversation. Say, hello, my name is, even if you're at the traffic light.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how's your day going? Even if you don't have anything, like, I don't have a thing today, but I've got a smile for you.
I love love that. Being prepared to say something, even if you don't happen to have extra food in your car or money. And do you often, recommend that food should be given over money? I mean, what's your perspective on that when you see somebody on the street asking for money?
Well, I think prepared to give a gift, and I always think of how many gifts I've been given in my lifetime.
Hmm.
Um, even I got a scholarship to go to school. Like, what a gift, and a privilege. And so, all of us have been given gifts that we didn't earn. And so I think, and how beautiful it is to give a gift and to receive a gift. And so I always say, you're giving a gift.
Hmm.
Um, Often it's a necessity for people. We ask a lot of people about, who are asking for funds, like what are you spending the funds on? That was so interesting to hear.
Ah,
Um,
yeah, just ask a question.
what they were needing. One woman, she had a beloved puppy and it had gotten picked up and she needed to get it out of the Humane Society and she had to pay a fee and a lot of times there's a lot of things that people need that you can't get. It's very hard to get on the streets that cost money. Or I always, give the example, you can't buy toilet paper on food stamps, for example.
Hmm.
Um, and think about navigating life without toilet paper.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of things that people need really spare change for, and so that's a gift that you can give. We also keep hot hands and gloves and things like that in the car.
Hmm.
So I have something often so I'll say, hey, I'm Amy from B Love. How's it going? You know, how are things going out here? Are you having any particular struggles that we can help with? But then I have something to give, and it could be anything,
Hmm.
um, could be homemade cookies, could be some food,
Sure.
water.
Sure.
Think about the season that you're in, and so that will impact the things that we share
Yeah.
seasonally. So flashlights, I'm naming some things that are really hard to get on the street. So imagine if you pull up and you're giving somebody a flashlight, or you're giving people hot hands and really thick, good gloves.
I love it.
Um,
And I love what you said too about, if you don't happen to have anything with you that day, just making eye contact and engaging
yeah,
in conversation and sending them a smile or a little love. I mean, that's so precious.
yes, and then maybe this is your regular route, and you might see them again and remembering their name.
Yes.
Whoa! Like when you go up and you say, "Well, hello, Tony,"
Yeah.
right? Or, "Hey, Helen, it's good to see you again," right? Wow, to be remembered. A
Yes.
cup of hot coffee or hot chocolate is a really fun gift to share. So just think about what would make somebody's day, what would make your day, is a really good thing. And also just realize, people are having bad days. So sometimes you may catch somebody on a bad day and think about they have all their bad days in public.
Yeah.
So that can be profoundly difficult. So you may get somebody in there, they may not be the nicest to you, and just recognize like that's part of being human too.
Yeah.
And give those folks extra love and just realize, this is not personal.
Yes.
There's a lot of really hard things happening right now, particularly in our community. We have people in our Latinx community, they're often afraid, they're living in fear, literally. We have people in the African American community that have to watch their back at all times and are facing trauma upon trauma.
Mhm.
We have people on the streets right now that are literally being attacked.
Right.
So we had yesterday or 2 days ago the third attack that we know of folks on the streets. We had a woman shot in the face with an airsoft pellet gun. We had a man and his cat that were nearly run over. The cat was literally run over. These things are happening and they're very scary. And this is, it's gotten more publicity, but this is something that we know, just by being in relationship with people happens a lot. That people are very vulnerable when you don't have doors and windows and a roof.
Yeah.
You're very vulnerable, and particularly in the wee hours of the night. And so One of the things that we have done is started handing out whistles. We
Mm-hmm.
call them our Be Safe whistles, so that people can blow a whistle if they're afraid or somebody's hurting them. So we ask people to be listening out and be watching out and help to protect our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
these are things that you can do that are really important. And one of the best protections is that we know each other. We take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important. I had an aunt that said, was particularly afraid for what I did, because I would go into new places and meet people that I didn't know, and I was connecting with people that were different from me. And she said, "I'm afraid you're going to get knocked in the head." And my first response, well, I might, but I could get knocked in the head anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now, all these years later, I realize I'm far less likely to get knocked in the head because I have, 50 sets of eyes on me at all times when I go anywhere because I live in community,
Yeah.
right? The community is this profound place where we are, each other's keepers, and we take care of each other and we watch out for each other. And so I just really invite people to live your life in the frame of community. It's one of the most beautiful things that could ever happen to a person.
Mm-hmm.
And really, think about part of your journey and mission in this life is to create community wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
To speak into people and whether, if you're in a restaurant or you're in the grocery store line, speak to the person checking you out, checking your groceries out.
Yep.
Speak to people that you pass on the street.
Mm-hmm.
These are ways that we connect as neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we do this, the more profound I think we can shift humanity
Mm-hmm.
because we've really forgotten. I call this the art of neighboring.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really a forgotten, lost art, and we need to really practice this in our day-to-day lives.
I agree. And I think sometimes people just don't have the tools or don't know what to do. So, it's important to have these conversations. It can be so simple. So I appreciate you speaking to all of that. We've had several other people join us just recently. Can you share one more time, like what your mission and your vision is and how you can get involved with all the amazing projects that you all are supporting and sponsoring?
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, I'm Amy with Be Loved Asheville. I'm one of the co-directors, and I'm so thrilled to be here today. Um, this is such a wonderful space, and I'm very excited about it. So Be Loved Asheville really works to bring people from all walks of life together in community, and through community to create innovative solutions to some of our toughest challenges, things like systemic racism, housing insecurity, homelessness, poverty, food insecurity, climate crisis. How do we bring our best, the ways that we create those critical connections in community, and envision new ways of being? How do we bring all of that together,
Mm-hmm.
and just begin to practice? So that's what Be Loved is about, is practicing the things that we really believe in.
I love it.
So if we believe in community, the way I practice community is what we were just talking about. Speaking to people, particularly people that one of the things that we understand in our society is that we've been segregated from one another
Yes.
and separated from one another. And so we have to really cross those social boundaries and begin to speak to one another,
Mm-hmm.
invite each other in, and begin to as we live in community, understand each other's struggles, and participate with each other, and being problem solvers together.
Yes.
And there's no greater thing. It's so exciting to see, a struggle that's come upon the community, and then begin to recognize, oh, wait a minute, what if we began to do these things together, and how could that change things? And seeing these solutions come to fruition and begin to be doing all of these amazing. If you had told me that we would be able to deliver over 4 million pounds of food
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic, I would have thought there is no way, right? But what happened was we began to work in community and get to know neighbors, and neighborhoods all over the county. And via all of these neighborhood networks of community leaders, and these amazing youth living in these neighborhoods, we did some heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But no one of us could have done that, right?
Right.
It was us together that are able to do that. And these things can make profound changes in our community. So that's what we're about at Be Loved Asheville, is really, connecting to the things we're passionate about, and turning our dreams into deeds.
Awesome. Well, I just want to remind everyone that we are raising money for Beloved Asheville on the 27th of November with the Be the Love Stride for Change 5K at Carrier Park. You can go to our bio to sign up, and you can also be a part of the holiday gift drive. We're collecting holiday gifts for BIPOC kids and youth on Race Day. We're also going to have a Beyond the Bar Jen experience for everyone with a yoga class and a DJ. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So please, please, please come out, tell your friends, and let's make this a wonderful way to share and enjoy each other's community.
And such a great name. I love the name of this race. And it's so fun to embody that and to come together in this way. And so can't wait to see you on Race Day, everybody, on November 27th.
Yay. And thank you, Amy, so much for this conversation. It was just so wonderful to speak with you. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my honor. It's so good to be with you today and everybody out there. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right. Take care.